Do I need a financial advisor, or can I do this myself? There are pros and cons of using financial advisors and also going the DIY route. And it's really important that you understand those, because they come with different protections and obviously these different pros and cons. So let's get into it. Why use an IFA? Well, look, if you're looking for professional advice, long-term planning, someone who's going to help you confidently make decisions, then an IFA is going to be the right call. Some of those kind of pros are you're going to get tailored advice based on your goals and your income level, which is really, really important. They can help you with tax planning. I lean on IFAs all of the time to help me with some of the IHT planning work that I do in my accountancy firm. We've got things, people looking at big IHT bills, and IFAs have got access to specific insurance policies. We help protect clients with life policies, not just pensions, and it's not just ISAs necessarily. I think people think IFA, it's just those things. They've got a whole suite of products, but they help with complex planning. And that's something that I can sort of spot opportunities, but I can't point people to specific products because I'm not regulated. So they're absolutely, it's a great pro to use an IFA for complex planning. IFAs have also got access to a broader kind of investment options and all sorts of different pension wrappers as well. Pensions are not all made equal. There's SIPs and SASs, the standard pensions. Oh my goodness, they can demystify this, and they can look at your situation and determine what you're going to do. IFAs will also give you regular reviews. They'll help you keep on track. Your career might be changing. You might be reaching retirement, so that they'll understand where you are at the moment. It's a hands-off approach, this, because what you're going to do is you're going to make a regular contribution into your firm of IFAs. They're going to invest that money for you, and they're going to monitor the markets. They're going to keep you apprised of the rules and keep you on the right side of those rules as well. Coupled with someone like me, an accountant, we can be an incredibly powerful tool, because I can spot opportunities in tax, feed it back to the financial advisors, and they can come up with kind of a plan for you, and you can sit back and relax, which is great, isn't it? But there's got to be some cons, haven't there? Well, of course there are. You're going to pay fees. That's the reality of it. Is it's either going to be a percentage of the assets or a fixed fee. You need to kind of understand the fee structure, and do talk to your IFAs. I've got no problem with people paying fees, because you're getting advice. So just understand that fee structure and understand exactly what you're going to get as well. I mean, another con as well is not all IFAs are equal. You need to absolutely find someone who's going to be regulated, transparent, and truly independent. That's really, really important. I came across a really upsetting case last week, where some very close friends of mine have been ripped off by £30,000, and they went to an IFA, and he put their money into something that was completely inappropriate, and they lost it all. He was working outside of the rules, but it is important that you find someone who is a really solid IFA, asking for recommendations, friends who've used them, looking at the long term. Can I see some examples of how you've got money working well for other clients, and asking some really, really good questions as well. Good IFAs do not mind you at all asking these sort of difficult questions, because they want you to feel at ease. I mean, handing over a lot of money, that's a huge amount of trust is required in that as well. But look, one of the other cons is you're going to have less day-to-day sort of control over your money, because it is hands-off, and some people, don't like that. They want a more hands-on approach. But, I think if you're really busy, that can be a good thing as well. So we've talked about IFAs, some of the pros and cons there, but why do people go off and do it themselves? Well, I think some people are confident in making their own decisions. Pension's actually relatively simple, and if you're maybe earlier on in your career, or you're quite young, you might be thinking, well, actually, I haven't got very much in a pension. I might just start something up and just get the money rolling into it. There's nothing wrong with that, I think, but you've still got to understand a little bit about the market. Some of these pros, I suppose, for doing it yourself are you're going to have lower costs. You haven't got those advice fees as well. That can be good at the start because you can let the investment grow a little bit without the impact of fees on it. You've got total control over the contributions, kind of what investments you're choosing, how you're going to time to make those investments as well. There are lots of easy-to-use platforms out there, just off the top of my head, like PensionBee, Vanguard, AJ Bell, Hargreaves Lansdown. You know, they make it very, very easy to do it yourself. You go online, you say, I want to open a pension, they open it for you. But it brings me on to the cons of it. Is it's all on you. You know, you can open up one of these do-it-yourself platforms and you are surrounded by a plethora of fund choices and options. Oh my goodness, which ones are you going to choose? And that's really, really difficult. You know, and what an IFA will be doing with you is they will be taking you through like a KYC, is the phrase they use, a know your customer form. And they'll look at your risk profile. You're doing it yourself. That's up to you to choose your own risk profile. How do you know the fund you are choosing is going into the right thing? And I think also, you know, I've got clients that are like, the American market's looking really good at the moment. Let's put all our money into the American market. You know, hang on a minute. You know, there's all sorts of turmoil in the American market as well. I think you've got to take a balanced approach, you know, looking globally. What about emerging markets? But you've got to get these splits and percentages right to handle risk. And you know, do you understand concepts of self-balancing? Do you know the difference between bids and ask? What's the benefit of using shares over kind of funds? You know, these are really important things. You've got to have a deeper understanding, and that's where financial advisors are going to de-risk all of this. I can't tell you what the right percentage splits of different funds are to manage risk. I'm not qualified to do that, and you know, I wouldn't want to do that for clients. I don't understand their risk profile. You know, just because I do one thing doesn't mean it's appropriate for a client, and that's where financial advisors are good as well. I think another con is that it's easy to miss planning opportunities if you're doing it yourself. You know, higher rate relief, carry forward, tapering, those sorts of things. It's time consuming. You've got to have a look at things all of the time. I think, you know, a friend of mine who was in investment banking, he was like, you know, it's easy, Justin. You just have to learn who the fund managers are and you follow the fund manager around. But that's an interesting observation because, you know, investment bankers obviously have their favourite fund managers. But what happens if a fund manager leaves the fund? That, you know, it can have a huge impact, doesn't it? And if you're doing it yourself, you've got to keep apprised of that. And that's time consuming as well. And I think the final one on the cons is, you know, if you make a mistake, it's going to be your responsibility as well. So, well, this brings me on to the thing is, you know, what about protections, IFA versus doing it yourself? There are very different levels of protection. You know, doing it yourself, you're covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. I did see some talk in the press recently about that level being raised, but it's not a huge level that you've got. I think it's currently at 85,000, and they're talking about maybe putting it up to 110. But look, that compensation scheme is not going to cover you for bad investment choices. It's not going to cover you for missed tax relief opportunities. You're fundamentally fully responsible for your decisions. An IFA, on the other hand, is, you know, I think when you look at their advice fee, you're thinking, God, you know, I've got to pay this blooming advice fee. Well, you're actually getting something here. You're getting someone who's qualified for a start. Firms of IFAs have got policies, procedures that they follow to keep you on the right lines, and they will carry professional indemnity insurance. So if they're negligent, then you're protected by the professional indemnity cover. I don't actually know how much they cover. I would expect that most firms would be carrying $1 million plus. It's a good question to ask, actually, of a financial advisor. So you can find that you're actually better protected working with an IFA. I think, you know, IFAs in particular, because they've got lots of policies in place and procedures in place, your money is almost better protected from fraud. If you're doing it yourself and you're using an app, I mean, I do a bit of app investing myself. You know, have you put a secure password on it? Have you got Face ID attached to the app? You know, have you got two-factor authentication? The firms of IFAs have already pre-established a lot of these policies and procedures to make sure that you're going to be all right, basically. I suppose as I start wrapping up this video, is you've got to ask yourself, what's right for you. And the kind of 3 questions came to my mind, I suppose. The first one you've got to ask yourself is, how complex is your situation? If you're early on in your career and your number one thing is just to put a bit of money into a pension and you haven't got huge amounts of disposable income, actually maybe do it yourself. Okay. But I think that then takes us on to the next question, is how confident are you in actually making the financial decisions? So you're like, actually, I've got a simple-ish life at the moment. How can you choose the right funds for you? And that's about confidence and understanding as well. As soon as you become complex, if you are a higher earner, say you're losing your personal allowance, or you might be becoming tapered, or you've got lots of different pockets of money investments, or you're reaching retirement, then I think it is important that you go and talk to an IFA. They can help you with all sorts of things like planning drawdown. I helped a client recently take some whole of life insurance to cover off a IHT liability. A financial advisor did a brilliant job of sorting that out as well. And I think the third question you've got to ask yourself here is, how much time do you have, or you want to spend actually managing all of this as well? If, like me, you're interested in this stuff, you might do a bit of do-it-yourself. I don't do everything do-it-yourself, I might add. And I think it's fine when you're starting out, but IFAs are really, really kind of useful people. They're professionals. And coupled with someone like myself, an accountant, IFAs and accountants coupled together, providing you advice. Wow, what a powerful team you've got there, because it's going to give you better protection, kind of peace of mind, and also a clear plan for the future as well. So I think do it yourself or financial advisor, you need to understand, what's going on, what's your responsibility, what protections you've got. I think, if you've got a complex situation, I think working with an accountant is really important. I'm part of a group online. It's a very big group where kind of people are looking for financial interdependence. And all the time people are asking questions on there. And it's amazing how many people come back and put a comment and saying, do you have an accountant? You should have an accountant. And accountants are really good at spotting these opportunities, and then actually they set almost kind of the tone of the conversation when you go and start working with an IFA. Please do make sure that any IFA that you're talking to, that they are correctly FCA registered. You can find them on their FCA website, and they should be listed on there as well. Anyway, I hope you found this video really, really useful. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments box. Please like and subscribe as well. That would be really, really helpful for me. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.